Live. Looks like we are.
Oh, shut up. Shut up. All righty then.
All
You
right.
ready?
Yeah, and welcome everybody to Mental Health Awareness. Thank you for joining us today on our this week's episode, September 18th, 2023. This is another episode of JAWS Coffee Chat. We're here with Jennifer A. Whitaker from JAWS. I'm Elizabeth Oberkirsch from Oh My VA Admin Services. And we always like to give a special thanks to a few participants who air our shows on their platforms. That would be Marcus Hart of Transform U Media, Zach Clayton of the PACT channel, Jay Stoyan of the Disability Channel, and Lawrence Wingate of Wingate TV. We also want to give a special shout out to Stanley, who is sponsoring our podcast this month. We'll give you a little more information about them lately, but we just want to say how much we appreciate their support. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the social media channels and groups and YouTube channel or wherever it is you came across our podcast. We'd greatly appreciate it. And with no further ado, let's take it away, Jennifer.
Hey, everybody, welcome. Another day, another time live in awareness of mental health conditions and those who have it. The understanding of not just the condition, but what the people with them go through. What do we have today, EJ, on the agenda?
I think we want to cover, she's tossing up a couple of different ideas, and we want to start with building a healthy support system. It kind of goes hand in hand with using boundaries around you. And we're going to talk about that over the next few months as we get into the holiday season. But let's start with the support system and building healthy boundaries as a main topic. Now, the definition of a support system as defined by highlandspringsclinic.org is that you have a network of people that provide you with practical or emotional support. These support systems will help you improve your overall health and have been shown to reduce stress and anxiety. So your first line of support should always be your family, right?
Very much.
But sometimes, go ahead.
I was going to say that's an interesting thing, which is that I have found many people who have mental health conditions, and they're the ones that typically don't have a support system. So we're the ones that need it the most, but we're typically also the ones that are the first to lose it out of people not understanding what's going on with our condition and that we are not intentionally behaving certain ways.
Right. Well, like you said, sometimes family isn't available, or something, like you said, something's happened, they don't understand, but there are other ways to get support.
Right.
Let's talk about family. You have immediate family, you have long distance family, or not so immediate family, which is family members that you choose, people that you can lean on, not necessarily blood relatives.
Definitely,
Uh,
and that's exactly where I was going to go, because there are some people that you can accept and view as family members, but actually have no actual family connection with you. For example, I have a brother-in-law that is very good to my older sister. Well, his parents, who technically aren't blood kin, have no obligation to take care of me. Often, when I go to the side of Houston where they live, uh, they'll tell me, "Hey, if you have anything, be sure to come. Let us know. We'll be the first to be there and get you to safety." Like when I went out on a boat in the lake near their house with a boyfriend. And they said, if anything goes wrong, notify us. We'll pick you up and bring you to our house, and then you can go coordinate with your parents, right?
mhm.
To get you back to the other side of town that's 2 hour drive away. Well, they actually have no legal responsibility. I mean, they're not even blood kin, but because of the good relationship between their son and my sister, we accept each other as family and do things like that families do for each other. At least good families are there for each other. So that's an example of where we can develop a family that's outside of what legally or by blood is defined as family.
Exactly. There's other support systems that may be a faith-based support system with your church or mosque or your particular religion that you have.
And the interesting thing about that is that I found out that this church that is online is called Life Church, LIFE.church.
Mhm.
That's the website. If you go there, they actually have where you can join groups that have common interests. And some of those common interest-based ones, as opposed to Bible-based ones, are actually support groups for people with, say, like I found one that's for people with autism. And yes, it's a church, but support groups are available too, not just Bible studies.
Cool.
And so I don't know how many other churches have stuff like that, or like you said, other religious organizations. But that's an example of one I found at that particular church that anybody across the world can attend, because it's an online church
Right.
and reaches people beyond just the foundation of faith.
Exactly. What about meditation classes or maybe joining a gym or a sport? Um, whatever it is that's moving in your area, your community. There's bound to be something beyond just the basic four walls that get you moving.
Definitely. And there are online churches, and I mean, not churches, online gyms as well. A
Ah,
lot of people are now aware of online gyms,
I wasn't.
which, yeah, right. A lot of people think if it's a gym, it has to be some other building where I can physically go touch and be in physical contact with whatever equipment, a
The
treadmill or
equipment,
whatever.
machines and stuff. Yeah.
Right. And there's actually one that's one of our clients named Body 20. His is basically a mobile gym where basically they come to the clients to give them resources from like their app that has online video kinds of workouts that you're supposed to watch it and mimic, the whatever moves that the person's showing you.
Mhm.
Or you're supposed to actually work one-on-one with one of the trainers when they're at your house or other universal place that's comfortable to both of y'all, but it's still that they meet you where you want them to meet you. It's not, you come to this building or you're not a member.
Right.
And so you can have however often for however long sessions with some kind of monthly agreement for them to come to you at whatever time and place. And then there's others like one I found called yoga work from home, or was it work from home
Mhm.
yoga.com. And those are online yoga classes that are already streamed, already recorded, they're not live like you and me right now. So you or I could even at 2 a.m. go online, pick which yoga class we want, and stream it on our computer or TV or something, and then do the movements that they're instructing us.
And that
So
gets
there's
your mental facilities caught up with your emotional ones because of the exercise and the movement and the endorphins and all the chemicals that get kicked up in your body when you're doing exercise. So maybe you're not out
True.
in society making connections for support, but you're focused on something productive, and that can be a type of support.
Well, but that can also still be a way of gaining mental health stability.
Mm-hmm.
As you may have seen in me in the last while of the longer I've spent at the gym, or the more days per week I spent at the gym over the time you've known me, haven't I become generally more stable, even though we had some problems,
Yeah, definitely handled it really well.
Because even when we had those problems, I was working a 12, 14-hour day to try to get the issue removed quick as possible, even though it meant less sleep and sacrificing certain things. I was problem solving and getting the solution, active and deactivating the problem. But that's where I have gained mental health stability and mental health better conditions, as far as like I'm stabilizing them, I'm functioning better, and my mood is more stable. Because even if it's like what I did from 1:30 to, what was it, 12:30 to 1:15 today, those yoga online, one of those online yogas. And here I was in my office at my house. I still got the exercise. So I still got the chemical reactions. It's all the endorphins and dopamine and serotonin and all the other happy pills being produced by the activity.
Right.
And some of those are also meditative or calming. So it depends what kind of yoga you pick. And that's assuming that you did the workfromhomeyoga.com, or if you went on say utopia.com, utopia.com. That's where you can find guidance on healthy eating, meditation, mindfulness. And those are online classes that you can also listen to or perform whatever movements and stuff they give you on demand. You can go at the time they have it, but you can also just watch it on demand if they're recording. And so these are some ways you can bring the gym to your house. Say for somebody who has one of the phobias that they can't really get out of their house, that's a way they can still exercise.
Right. And like we said, that exercise is building a support system for your mental health. It doesn't have to be meeting with people, because there's a lot of people with mental health issues that part of the issue is they don't want to be social. But if you do need actual people, that you could possibly do some volunteer work, identify a cause that's important to you and you could get involved in. Or maybe simply a book club. That's something that, most of the time you're going to be on your own reading and studying the book, but you could start a book club or join one that has people that ultimately, after you get to know them a little bit, they may be a personal support for you, someone you could go
They
to.
could develop friends.
Exactly.
They could develop friends in those groups, but they could develop friends in other activities. Say if they went on Meetup or another one of those websites that has different events.
Yeah, the different social networking sites.
Yes, and there's actually another one I discovered. Let's see what this website's called. Now I'm going to share a screen as long as I can. Let's make sure this app lets me. So here's one I found, Element 3 Health. And see here, Element 3 Health Groups.com. So see here, it's welcoming me back because I just logged in,
Right.
and then find an activity and see if I put, I could put virtual only because of, like, in my case where I can't drive, so I'm limited on how much Ubering I can do, and Uber's more expensive than driving.
Right.
So I could even do virtual only. And here's painting and drawing, general exercise, dance, fitness, advanced body strength, indoor walk and stretch with Kelly. So there's all these different things that stability ball strength with
Zumba.
Zumba with Cindy. I mean, see, these are all kinds of stuff I can do from my home because, I mean, look, talk nutrition and cooking. So many different activities that are exercise, cooking. Others are different types of arts. Let's see what's one of the art ones. Okay. Painting and drawing, observational drawing, colored pencil landscapes. So see, these are different things that you can do with different people, and it's a virtual event. So it's like you and me talking right now, EJ, we're interacting with other people, but we're virtually there instead of
Right.
actually physically in person.
Right. But you're still
It's either-
building that support system.
Right, but these are different activities to go try
Yeah.
to meet the people that will be the support system. Like here's a dancing one. Here's another art and craft that's
Watercolors.
watercoloring.
Ooh, chair yoga. That's more my style. So I can't get down on the floor and get back up.
Well, they also have stand yoga if you don't want to be on the floor. So,
Yeah.
but that more so goes to say, see, this one is in person. No, wait, this is one of their virtual ones. Indoor walk and stretch.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of, okay, art appreciation, Bloomsbury group. So see, this is element3healthgroups.com.
And that's the number 3, element number 3 health groups. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's like this other one I was talking about, that's Utopia Global Wellness. So if I put join a class, here's mental and emotional wellness coach, bi-weekly on Mondays at 12 p.m. Eastern time for 30 minutes. Book to be there or view on demand. Mindfulness meditation, bi-weekly Mondays, 1 p.m. Eastern time for 30 minutes. Book now or view on demand. So see, even places like this that are online gyms or online health facilities have working out, but they also have this mindfulness and nutrition and other senses of well-being.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is UTOPIASPAND globalwellness.com.
Yeah. Utopia Spa and Global Wellness.com. Very cool.
There you go. Yeah, and see, so there's some other stuff like other yoga, nutritional coaching. And this is actually where I go to see someone who recommends what supplements to take and not take. And see, some of these are even from Australia, and here we are in the US watching them.
Yeah. Pre-recorded 30 minutes.
Right?
I love communicating with people in Australia. It proves that tomorrow we'll get here.
Yeah, because tomorrow's already here over there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But those are just examples of like what's the modern day since the pandemic. Another one of those gifts of the pandemic
Yep.
that we can virtually go to workouts instead of having to actually be in person at the facility now.
Right. Now, of
Almost
course,
anything.
with all
I
the
want to say,
the social media sites, you have to use a certain amount of common sense, and make sure that they're, not, make sure they're the legitimate ones. You don't want to get on some of these that could be dangerous, like arranging to meet people in person that you've only known online. I mean, there's a certain responsibility here we have to say about social media sites, because there are some,
well, but these aren't social medias.
right, those aren't.
Right.
But yeah,
So
we had touched
that's where,
on connecting with some of the social media sites to get some support from, new friends.
I don't advise that, because often on social media, you meet people, that's who they are online, that's not who they really are.
Yeah, exactly.
So I do not support, I don't know who mentioned that, but I'll support making friends on social media. Because a lot of people are a different person on social media than they
Oh, yeah.
actually are.
Yeah,
So it's actually one of the first places to go to be deceived of who a person is, and
true.
not to actually meet the real person behind that computer.
But I have to admit, I've met some really genuine people that have become friends, that I met through, say, Facebook or LinkedIn. But you do have to be careful.
But LinkedIn is more trustworthy, because that's where we go to be professionals and to meet
Yeah,
other professionals to run a business. Versus typically when people say social media, they
you think
think
of
of Facebook or
Twitter
Instagram.
or Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And those are not where people are being professional. Those are where people are putting themselves out there as a way they want the world to believe them to be. That's totally not who they are. And so, since that's what people typically think of, that's why I don't say social media,
yeah,
even though you're right about LinkedIn is a good place to meet people that do business. But then again, on this mental health awareness, we're talking about their social, not their job.
yeah. You're
So
you're
that's
talking
where LinkedIn
social
would,
support. Yeah,
right. So that's where LinkedIn wouldn't apply, which is another reason why social media wouldn't apply.
and then of course, last but not least, there's always the traditional therapist to get good support. Even though we don't necessarily feel that way all the time. Um, there are times when a therapist is the best way to go, shall we say.
Well, a lot of people with mental health problems actually should be seeing a therapist regularly already.
Yeah.
That should not be where they go to develop their social circle and their
No,
support
not a
system.
social circle, but definitely a support system. Somebody that they can count on for support.
Well, I don't define them as support system like I
No?
do as a provider. They're a mental
Okay.
health service provider. They're, and if they actually were a support system, why do so many therapists tell us we need to develop a support system? Because it's not a therapist saying you need to find another therapist. It's a
Right.
therapist saying you need to develop a social circle. Whereas in your religious organization, it's outside religious organization, it's in your gym, it's in your online social events like the ones we shared with you. Other people you meet at them that also like doing that activity. It's people that are other regulars at your hangout, like how some people I've met because I've spent so much time at Starbucks that I know everybody there who's a regular at that specific location.
Yeah.
And so that's how I first started developing social groups and support systems when I first moved home from college, and I didn't know anybody besides my family members. And, my little sister was in junior high. She didn't have anything to do with a college girl. And
No.
then my mom was a single mom working. So, she had to focus on keeping our livelihood going. And here I was finishing grad school and trying to develop a social circle and trying to get a system of providers and doctors. And, I kind of was on my own, but she gave me money to spend to go hang out to get coffee. So I do my homework at Starbucks. But when I took breaks, I would socialize with other people that I noticed were there frequently at certain times or certain days a week or some form of regularly.
Right.
And that's where I got my friends. So it wasn't technically a support group, but it was a place where I bonded with other people who had that common interest.
Yeah. And that's really the goal of a support system, is to embrace a shared interest. If you find something that you and other people are genuinely interested in, then you can form a good support system that way. Make sure you go with your talents, use your strength, not your weaknesses. Go with what you know and what works for you. Speaking of which, finding things of common interest. We mentioned earlier in the intro that Stanley is supporting us this month for our podcast. So they were founded in 1913 by inventor William Stanley Jr. And Stanley has been there for generations of adventurers. They were built on invention, innovation, and inspiration with a timeless spirit that complements your wild imagination. So for over 100 years, they have been had a steady stream of products that continues to honor the Stanley legacy, keeping your warms warm and your colds cold, they say. So Stanley is there for your adventures, so you can make the most of your world, whether you're scaling a mountain, going camping, or just climbing an elm tree in your own backyard. They'll be with you. So we are so grateful to Stanley's generosity to support our podcasts.
And speaking of that, after we start supporting Stanley and they start supporting us, can you believe I go to my gym and guess what kind of water cup somebody has?
A Stanley Cup. Yay!
Stanley water cup at my gym.
I love it. Now, we'd be remiss without mentioning there are a number of hotlines available to provide assistance. There's the numbers for National Suicide Prevention, there's National Domestic Violence Hotline, and of course, in any immediate danger, 911.
Definitely.
So what other types of support systems do you have, Jennifer?
Well, personally, I know a lot of people who have mental health conditions may be on disability, but personally, I think even my career and my clientele, my subordinates at my business, my coworkers, and all these other people, they're in the realm of my work life, are supportive of me, because one way I cope is by staying busy with my business related stuff, servicing our clients, having our podcast, having our team meetings, having our goals. That's how I say what we need to get done. But all these different things related to work. It gives me something to focus on other than all the health conditions that are constantly going sour, with how you've probably heard too, EJ, about how I have this and that different thing going wrong, and this is why I need prayers. But it's easy to get depressed when you focus on all the health problems you have going wrong, instead of refocusing on something that is what you're good at, something what you do well. And with me, that's my job, because I'm a businesswoman, I'm motivated, I'm business minded. So I don't want to sit around just doing art when I could actually do an art that's a trade. So I implement both my love for art and my sense of being a businesswoman.
Yeah.
And whatever else anybody else has their interest, be creative and maybe even make a job out of it.
Definitely.
Because if somebody's disabled, that doesn't necessarily mean they can't work at all, versus that they cannot make gainful income.
Right.
So even if they only made $50 a month, it would at least provide the benefit of whatever was the joy in creating the product, or what was the joy in interacting with people to try to get others to buy your product. So there's things to the job that would be beneficial in the mental health state more than in the financial state. But sometimes that's one way to cope, is by creating a job for yourself if you can't work for somebody else, create a job for yourself to somehow make even the smallest penny off of coping.
Mhm.
What do you like to do to cope? It's your favorite coping method. Turn it into a career. I
Exactly.
mean, that's what I did with my books when you may have heard, but in high school, my I think it was my 11th grade teacher told me I needed to cope with whatever emotion by writing it.
Mhm.
And she had us write complete sentences as a journal, and we were graded on our writing skills. That was how they graded us in school for coping. But I decided I'd go my own way, which was writing poems and not even writing complete sentences. And then, I've told you that's now my bestseller.
Yep.
What I wrote, that was how I coped through high school, writing story as a poem instead of an actual journal entry with complete sentences and everything. But that's still that I was coping, and I made a
Mhm.
job out of it by publishing it. And
Exactly. That's amazing.
that brought me an income. But then when I saw an income result from it, it motivated me to do another one and another one. So whatever is that art or activity, use it to make a living. Use it to somehow make money, even if it's not gainful living. But it gives you something to focus on, which is producing more of whatever kind of art and taking it through whatever approach to make it into a business, like I did with publishing my book.
Right.
Not many
And if
people think of your job as a coping skill.
no, they don't. But if you enjoy cooking, you could put together a cookbook. And
They can,
then,
or they could even be the next Martha with a YouTube channel that eventually gets them on TV, showing other people how to cook that certain recipe.
yep, people are doing it all over YouTube right now. I'm constantly seeing different recipes because I'm always on the lookout for healthy recipes instead of the
Right.
same old that we use here at the house. And so I'm always looking at those. And I'm like, wow, everybody is getting on that bandwagon. Oh, here's a recipe. Let me show you how I made it. And it's super simple. You just have one person hold the camera and you do the recipe. You
Well,
stand
you
there and
don't
make
even
it.
have to have a person. You only have to have a person. You can have a
A
try,
stand, yeah.
like see this, wait a minute.
You have to hold it right in front of your body. Yep, there you go.
See here, this is what holds the phone,
Yep.
and here's 3 legs that go on the counter. So they could have a trifold like that, or tri-stand, whatever they call these,
Mm-hmm.
that are phone holders, and that's what does the recording instead of being that person. Because that thing is probably like $50, but compare that one-time fee to actually paying somebody hourly to hold it while you record.
Right. Unless it's a family or a friend member that just wants to help out. Those are always nice.
Well, they can help out, but sometimes those that are on disability, they can't be on their own,
Yeah.
and that's part of the reason they're disabled, but they long for independence. So that's one way to be independent, with just paying that $30 to have that stand, so that
Mhm.
whoever family member doesn't have to help, and you can have that sense of independence.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, well, I think that about wraps up our time talking about support systems today. It's a a lot of good information there. Do you have any announcements you want to add to today's show, Jennifer?
Well, of course, like always,
Always. You always have something going on.
totally. The question at the end is, what is Jen up to? Not is Jen up to something?
Yeah, that's right. What you got going on this week, girl?
I wanted to let everybody know that Monday Mission is coming out November 6th, 2023. This is the Monday Mission podcast that will start on November 6th, 2023, to be 6:30 to 7:30 Central Time, which you will find on Jaws Coffee Chat podcast channels. And you can also find information about by going to diehard.org. That's project DIEHARD.org to check out their nonprofit that is there to service veterans and see how you can also be of support. You can also email us at Monday at projectdiehard.org if you are interested in being on the Project Die Hard podcast as a guest speaker. And especially if you're one that could come regularly, whether it's every other week, once a month, or whatever set frequency. We want to have multiple people who are guest speakers who are here to help veterans and serve veterans, those who care about veterans. And if you don't have time for that, to serve us with time, then please email me at Jen, JENN, at projectdiehard.org with how you would like to be a support to Project Die Hard. If it's financially, we can always send you a link to become a financial support. If you have products, food, shelter, anything that a veteran would need, you can always donate products through gifts, including that you can get tax write-offs for doing that because it is a 501c. So whatever way you want to help the Monday mission at Project Die Hard, we want to hear from you. So then again, if you're interested in being on the podcast or somehow giving to Project Die Hard or financially supporting, email us at Monday, MONDAY, at projectdiehard.org. Also be on the lookout for Jaws Coffee Chat to soon following today's meeting with the Houston Community College. We will be having a podcast that will be some set frequency that is in the works right now to decide, that will be specifically focused towards the special ability community that includes the mentally ill and those with mental health conditions and beyond, to include even others like me with autism, their developmental or epilepsy, their neurological, or any other disability. We are working with the Abilities Office, as they call it at Houston Community College, to bring education and programs to improve your lives to you on air somewhere in the next 30 days from today, which is September 18th, 2023. The meeting is going to be in the next 45 minutes. And then we'll know something. And in our next show next week, on September 25th, we'll be able to bring you an announcement on what is going on with Houston Community College Ability Office being available and being online as part of your dream Jaws Coffee Chat podcast.
Excellent. Looking forward to learning more about that. Okay, folks, that's it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Our next episode, as Jennifer just mentioned, will be next Monday, September 25th, 2:30 Central Time, 3:30 Eastern. So until then, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channels and our social media pages. And until then, we wish you a productive and enjoyable week.